Right, welcome. We've got a nice full house. Welcome everyone that is here. All right, happy fall, y'all. Welcome to our workshop, Fall Ayurveda. Ayurveda is one of my favorite topics, and I love to share the information with you. So I just said a little prayer right before, just that I can speak to you all clearly and give this message clearly. And just the beauty of Ayurveda and what a beautiful system it is for our health and well-being. And that, yeah, it can just flow through me today, and we can all just soak it all in and use this information for our health and well-being and our best selves, right? So welcome, more friends are coming in. Welcome, welcome. All right, so the workshop is set up in just 3 sections today. We're gonna go with root, which is gonna be some information. We're gonna go a little bit over what Ayurveda is, the doshas. If you're familiar with Ayurveda at all, these terms will sound familiar, but I'll explain a little bit more if you're not familiar. And we'll just give a little bit of just information. That'll be our root. And we'll talk about the doshas and how they're related to the fall season. And then we'll get into the ground part of the workshop, which is giving health tips, things that we can do daily or in general as we go and transition into from summer to fall here. We are officially in fall, but we kind of got still the summer lingering a little bit. But I'll give you different tips that we can use to help us to build immunity as we come into the winter. So that is, the time that it gets a lot colder, and sometimes there's just more sicknesses going around. We tend to get just a little sicker that time of year. So this is a good time to build that immunity and bring in these practices, these ideas, and I'll give you, a few that you can kind of pick and choose, or whatever resonates with you. You can work with those. The third part of this workshop will be gather, which is more of the nutrition piece. I have a fall shopping list that I'll share, and just seasonal foods that we can bring in to help us with building that immunity and finding that balance for this season as we transition out of summer and into winter following the fall season. So the books that I'm referencing, I really recommend this one. This is called Practical Ayurveda. It's just really pretty. It has a lot of colors and it has recipes. And so I'm referencing that one. And then this one too is a seasonal, another one with great recipes. I've used this one at retreat. We've made recipes at retreat from this one. And this is about like certain recipes for certain seasons, which I love that. So the shopping list will come from that. And yeah, so we'll just dive on in. Thanks for being here, everybody. So the Ayurveda, so that's exactly, sometimes you look at the word and it's like, how do you pronounce that? Ayurveda, Ayurveda. That's the pronunciation. And the definition is, it's the science, it's an ancient system. That's the science of life. That's the Sanskrit word, Ayurveda, for the science of life. And so what it is looking at the physical body, your mental body, your spiritual body, and your senses, and helping us to thrive in those areas, but also to again, I'm going to use that word a lot, balance, finding that balance. When we're out of balance, that's when dis-ease can start to form in the body, the mind, the spirit. So there's 5 elements in Ayurveda. And what I love about Ayurveda, it's all about in rhythm with nature. As the seasons, kind of going with the seasons, we can look at the seasons and look at nature to mirror what is going on in our bodies. So the 5 elements we're talking about is earth, fire, wind, space. What did I miss? Water, big one. Those are the elements that we're looking at when in Ayurveda. So we all have those different elements within our body, mind, spirit. These are called doshas when we kind of hone in, narrow in on the specific ones for each individual person. the doshas. There's vata, pitta, and kapha. So vata is the wind, space, and air dosha. So we all have this. We all use, our bodies uses the movement. Movement is another good word in vata. We need movement in our body to the circulation, for our breath. Our breath is air and movement, for elimination. What else? In our mind, creativity, memory. What else for vata? Circulation, our nerve system sending signals to the brain. I wrote some notes down too, just to make sure sensation is another form of vata in the body. And then pitta is our fire and water. So fire is transformation. It's going to be a lot to do with the digestion. You need the fire to break down food. You have to have that fire, that vitality in your digestion to help you just break all the food down and then send it where it needs to go. That's the pitta fire. It's our internal heat, and it provides us intelligence and self-confidence in the mind. Our third dosha is the kapha. This one's the earth dosha. It's actually earth and water. So this one is all about stability and grounding. It's like the oiliness and smoothness, making sure everything's like our joints are lubricated, everything's kind of moving, but we're grounded. Keeps us grounded from that kind of vata movement. This kind of balances that out with that stability, strength. I have a lot of vata or kapha in me, but depending on the seasons too, they kind of shift on which one is dominant. But yeah, kapha and pitta are my doshas. And if we have time at the end, we can do a dosha quiz. I wasn't sure if we'd have time for that, but you can figure out what dosha your dominant dosha is if you don't already know that. But it correlates too with personality and our physical body and all that. So we can get into that a little bit more. But we all have these three doshas. Just some of them are maybe more dominant, depending where we are at physically or we're born with it. It's our constitution. So how this relates to the seasons is we're moving into the vata season. So if you look at nature, again, looking at nature to mirror what we have going on in our body is if you think about what's going on from summer, we've got the heat. Now we're transitioning into the coolness of fall. So it's still kind of warm, like we have to still do the layers, right? So it's a little bit warm still, but then we're dropping into the cooler temperatures for most of us. Those that experience the seasons, sometimes we're in places where we don't necessarily experience that shift and change as much, but out there, the leaves are starting to change color. Everything's shifting and changing. Vata is all about transition and movement. So everything's kind of moving and changing. So changing is a big one. This is why Vata or fall, coming into fall, is so important for us to focus on our health and wellness during this time, because we're changing and shifting from summer to that fall. So so looking at what's happening in nature, the idea is we've collected a lot of heat throughout the summer, so that can translate into like inflammation in the body. Also, this time of year, allergies are very common. It could correlate like skin irritation. Emmett, my son, has this rash on his mouth that's like not going away. But it's accumulated from the heat of the summer. And now we're transitioning into that coolness vata fall time, where it starts to become more cool, dry, rough, some other qualities, erratic, cool, subtle, clear. And so to bring balance to these qualities as we're shifting into fall, we want to do the opposite of that. So we're hoping to bring in like warm and cuddly. I mean, we almost do it naturally by maybe grabbing more tea and like our pumpkin lattes, and we're just starting to crave those fall things already. We're starting to crave like the pumpkin and just a little bit more associated with that shift already. But we also, so oily, warm, snuggly, we really want to slow down this time of year. We've been busy with the summer, right? We stay busy with the activities and the traveling and all the things. And then this is the time of the year where we want to start to slow down and take it easy, like say no to things. It's okay to say no to different activities. But we want to find more of that rest here in this part of the year. And going to bed earlier. Sun is going down. We're looking at nature. The sun is going down a little earlier. We want to get to bed a little earlier so we can bring in that rest. And this is a time of rest and digest. I love that saying. And the Vata is all about, is the house of the nervous system. So we're focusing on the nervous system, calming and grounding the nervous system as we come into this fall season. So that is a lot of the information so far. Does anybody have any questions? Let me know. We're going to move into more of the practices that we can implement. But first, before I move on, let me know if there's any questions with any of this information so far. Raylene's taking notes. I like that. Hopefully it's making sense. Yes. Oh, all right. Well, let me know if there's any questions in the chat box. I'm going to keep going here. So the ground part of this workshop is all about implementing the different practices. Ayurveda suggests these different practices and things that we can bring in daily, or just depending what you have going on, depending on your dosha, depending where you're at, you can bring in these things. So like I was saying earlier, this is a change and transition, right? We're going from that summer to fall. Can your dominant Vata? Yes, great question, Linda. She asked, can your dominant Vata change throughout the year? So she's got a little bit more Vata. And yes, they shift and change with the seasons. So for example, I am Kapha Pitta or Pitta Kapha, depending what season it is. In the summer, when the Pitta is high, because that is the Pitta month, the fire month, where everything's heated up, I'm a little more Pitta, and my Pitta comes out a little more. However, in the winter, my Kapha comes out a little bit more. And I need to find that balance where I bring more Kapha in the summer and more Pitta in, more fire into those winter months when I'm feeling just kind of like a little more too grounded when I need a little bit of like fire under my tush to get me going. So, but yes, and that's another, reason why coming into this Vata season, the fall season, is really important to look at these things, because in general, our society is very Vata. So we're very busy. We're on internet that's just moving fast. Information is always coming at us. There's always just that movement in general and just society. So we already are coming into this Vata season with a lot of Vata. So a lot of that movement already. So even more important to really hone in on these practices as we come into this season. So good question, Linda. So yeah, if you're a little bit more dominant in the Vata, another even more reason there. All right, so yes, we're looking to nature. We want to boost immunity and we want to build up vitality. Vitality is one of our words lately here at VFit. So I loved that. Build up, write that down if you're taking notes. Build up vitality and boost immunity. Those are our goals here with these practices and what we want to do to set ourselves up for the season to follow for this. So we want to try to avoid cold food and drinks. I know that is hard through summer. That's like all I crave is the the ice water and the salads. And now we're kind of shifting out of that and getting into, we want to bring in more warm foods and warm drinks like teas. And we're wanting to cook our food rather than eating raw food. So avoiding raw food, we want to avoid spicy ingredients because we're trying to get that heat from the summer out. We don't want to add the heat of the summer by adding like spicy foods, even though I know a lot of us do crave that. Trying to resist that craving if possible can be helpful. I know this is probably not popular here at VFit, but vigorous exercise. We want to just maybe take it down a couple notches by maybe going for a walk instead of a run, or maybe taking some peace and power yoga instead of, the high energy classes. I know that we're all going to keep still doing them, but but just something to think about, and maybe bring in a little bit more of the strength practices rather than like the movement cardio. You can bring that into strength is really good for this time of year. Those heavy weights will help us ground as all the movement and shifting is going on. And I said earlier is like, it's okay to say no to things. Like we don't have to be so busy, especially as we got the holidays coming up, right? We've got like all kinds of things that we're gonna have to be at and throughout the winter. So it's okay this time of year to say no to things and really just take more of that come to that introvert place when possible. So avoiding loud noises, aggressive music. If possible, we want to find more of a routine schedule with our food. So having like eating at the same time every day, if possible. I know that's not always easy to do, but and then trying not to eat in between meals. So keeping it one meal and then wait till your next meal. That's just a suggestion to Ayurveda. I always think like listen to your body too, like what you need. I think that's very important, is to listen to what you need. And then we don't want to overeat as well at this time of year, or Ayurveda suggests. But we do want to enjoy a nap. I know we were really good at this at retreat, maybe me not so much, but Rochelle and Maria were, and a lot of the others that were there. Take a nap. Another good thing is bringing in heat. So we want to be cuddly and snuggly and take a sauna or a bath or a steam if you have that option. Going into a steam room. We want Epsom salt baths. Again, with like tea, sipping hot water, go to bed early. Another big thing is turning off screens 1 hour before you go to bed. This is huge because again, it's that information, that movement, that really just getting yourself off of technology or screens before bedtime will really set you up for a deeper sleep and just better overall. But just cutting that out and maybe doing your bath time or doing a yin yoga class right before you go to bed. That's a great option instead of being on the screen, even though if you plug into a screen, but if you're in yin, that's okay. As far as like scrolling and watching things. Let's see. And then Ayurveda really suggests doing a self massage, and I'll talk a little bit more about that coming up here. But some other activities that are good is yoga, yin, restorative yoga, any kind of yoga that's slow moving, swimming, walking, like walking in nature. Those are going to be really good things for movement to do this time of year. And a suggestion is to cover your ears and neck when you're outside because of the cold and the wind. That'll really help just block that out when you're outside walking. So the self massage is called Abhyanga, and this is like the number one thing Ayurveda suggests for this time of year is doing self massage with warm oil. And like, don't knock it until you try it, because it's amazing. Like, it's just so nurturing and soothing and calming and such a good self-care practice. I'll suggest some oils to use if you're not sure of what kind of oils to use. But this time of year for Vata, especially those that have a higher Vata dominant in the Vata dosha, sesame oil is going to be the oil for you. Sesame oil is pretty thick. So if you don't like sesame oil, you could use almond oil. But the idea is to get the lymphatic moving. So you're you start from on the feet and you work your way up. You work your way up your legs and then working your way up towards your heart. So we can get that just all moving as you're giving yourself a massage. Kind of like if you do dry brushing. I know Sherry's talked about this a little bit with self-massage of, moving it all up towards the heart space. So the heart is what clears out the lymphatic. So I have a couple oils here that I use the almond oil. So almond oil is good for really any dosha. It's pretty light, but also a bit warming. So I don't necessarily use it as much in the summer. I use the coconut oil in the summer because that's going to be more cooling. So if you have a little bit more pitta in you, the coconut oil will be good to use anytime, or try the almond oil because that's good for anybody. And it is really nice to warm it up. So if you can like put it in a, we don't want to boil it or anything, but like put it in a cup and maybe warm it up in like some water, warm water or something. You could get creative with that to warm up the oil. And then Ayurveda suggests to do this before you take a shower, so that once you get into the shower, that opens up the pores on your skin and lets that oil come in even deeper into your skin. Your skin is what you want to absorb the oil. So doing a self massage with the oil before a shower and then showering it off is the key. Give it a try and let me know what you think. So coconut oil, I said, is good for pitta, or if you have sensitive skin. If you have really sensitive skin, the coconut oil is going to be good. And then almond oil is kind of just the middle road for oils. So Abhyanga. Next practice would be this is great for helping us with allergies and congestion and things that come up, cold, flu, is putting a little dab of oil on your nostrils. So you can use actually your pinky finger or a Q-tip and you get a little bit of either of these oils, and then just dabbing it into your nostrils. And it is so glorious, especially if you have a dryer, if you're experiencing, a cold, or you've been blowing your nose a lot, you have allergies. This is so just nice to do. It's so simple. Just taking a little oil and putting it right there around the nostrils. And this keeps the nasal passage clear and alleviates headaches too. So if you have a headache, you can try that, a little bit of that and a little bit of essential oil, and see if that helps relieve a headache. One of the next practices is the neti pot. So I brought that out to show you. Great for allergies, if you have allergies, or if you feel something coming on. If you feel like your immune is low, just bring this in. It is not the most comfortable thing in the world, but it's great to do in the shower. Ayurveda suggests salt water. If this does not clear up your nasal pathway, try not to blow it. You would want to take it further as far as like checking out your sinuses. You might be having like sinus infection. So just be cautious of that. You do want a flow to happen here rather than like forcing. But you go into the shower and just kind of turn your head and then let it go through and out the other nostril. And then you do both sides, and great for clearing and great for building that immunity. And I've been experiencing rabbit brush is blooming here where we are. It was in Mammoth when I was there a few weeks ago, but now we're down here already where I just, yeah, lots of sneezes, lots of stuffiness. So right now I need to be doing the neti pot like once a day to help with all that and clear all that out. And let's see, purified water, a little bit of salt with the neti pot. I think I covered that, not forcibly blowing your nose if it doesn't clear it. And then you could also follow up with that oil, gentle oil on your nostrils following the neti pot, because the salt can be kind of drying. So that could be a good way to help with that. The nav age, I'm not sure.
It's
Not
the
sure what that is.
Navage.
Oh, Navage.
It's that machine that pours the salt solution. It comes with its own salt, distilled water. Put the packets in, and you just put it up to your nose, and it does a flushing. I will tell you, it works as advertised. I just didn't know it would be too harsh for what you're suggesting, but it does clear the sinuses.
Yeah, it sounds like it does something very similar. So as long as it doesn't, I mean, it is a little bit uncomfortable, but either way you go. But yeah, I would say if you feel okay doing it, it sounds like it does the exact same thing, just clearing out the nasal. So yeah, with the salt. And so yeah, no, I think, and just listen to, you know, your body too. If you feel like it's too harsh for you, maybe try the neti pot, and then you can compare the two and let me know. Let me know. All right, I think that is it for the different practices. I will say yoga. How are we doing on time? Perfect. We got 15 minutes. I will this week, Friday, Peace and Power, and I will record it. I will do a special fall Vata season practice, and I'll do a 45-minute class where we do power and peace and power, but I'm going to slow it down a little bit so that it's friendly for this time of year. So if you can't make it Friday, it will be recorded and on the on-demand library that you can go back to throughout the fall. And we'll have a nice deep relaxation at the end, which is very good to come back to, you know, throughout the fall season. So I will be doing that Friday at 9:10 if you want to come live. Otherwise, it'll be recorded. And just another practice to bring in, focusing on just that slower movement and deeper peace at the end, slower restorative yin type yoga. All right, for our last portion of the workshop is gather. So we're going to talk a little bit more about food and nutrition. I'm going to share a fall shopping list. It's out of this book. I love this book. It gives you a shopping list for each season, but I'll post this picture of the shopping list. So again, we're talking about bringing in warm foods. We're talking about moist, slightly oily. So you can already start to think of like which foods to bring in, foods that are going to build us up. So we've been eating a lot of probably raw, cold, frozen throughout the summer to balance out the heat. Now we're going to take it into more warm and nourishing, earthy vegetables that are like the root vegetables, like sweet potatoes and carrots. What else is in there? Turnips, beets, winter squash. Those are all good to bring in, and trying to cook all your vegetables, not necessarily eat raw if possible. Another thing that I love this time of year is apples, cooking apples. It's like the best thing ever. You put a little bit of ghee, cinnamon, and you know, cook up your apples, and they're just so nourishing and delicious. That's one of my favorites this time of year. Another thing is the cold weather greens, but cooking them like kale, Swiss chard, collard greens, bringing in some greens like that can be more of the bitter greens to help flush out the heat of the body, any inflammation. Those are really good for the liver. So bringing those in, cooking those. And And then also warming spices. So we talked about trying to stay away from like spicy foods, but okay to bring in the warming spices like cinnamon, which is kind of what we crave this time of year. For me, I'm like, give me all the cinnamon. Ginger, cumin, fennel, salt. Those are all very warming spices that we can add a little bit to our veggies, or I add a little bit of cinnamon to my coffee in the morning. There's different ways you can add those in, or get tea, cinnamon tea, ginger tea, fennel tea is really good. Those would be good teas to get this time of year. Fresh seeds and nuts, getting that oily, building foods. So that's part of that, like fresh seeds and nuts. And then rich cold pressed oils like coconut oil, sesame, ghee, avocados, good healthy fats are going to help our digestion this time of year. Warm soups, stews, right? We come into this time of year and it's like what you automatically do is make soups. And also breads. Breads are very great this time of year for like wheat, pumpkin bread, brown rice bread, oat bread, baking if you like to bake. This is when I start to like turn my oven on more, and I have a really good pumpkin muffin recipe that I will share with everyone as well, which is my favorite. It's about that time of year to start busting out the pumpkin muffins. And then sweet and heavy fruits like bananas, mangoes, apples, like I said, pears are really good cooked up as well. Cranberries, dates, figs, bringing in proteins like any kind of meat if you're a meat eater. We want to do the small beans like red lentils, mung beans, split peas. We want to bring in tofu and eggs. And then foods to reduce, try to get them out, is for now, is like more dry foods like chips. So you think about vata and the air, like, right? The crunchy foods, chips, crackers. We're trying to eliminate. Yes, I know nature is amazing. Yes, we're more like naturally going to the seasonal fruits, right? The fruits and vegetables that are in season. Yeah, we want to stay away from carbonated drinks, which I love my Spindrifts, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll drink more tea. But again, it's the air, the bubbly, that we're trying to help our digestion, not have so much of that air that's mirroring our nature. Trying to stay away from large beans like kidney, pinto, because those do cause more air. Beans, meat, the magical fruit, and reducing raw foods. And just potential signs of imbalance would be like more gas, more bloating, constipation. That's digestion, but other things would be like dry skin, scalp, anxiety, insomnia. Those are ways that we can tell that we're maybe our digestion is a little off, or we're just a little off, or just kind of going down the vata season. Or we're too into the vata season rather. And we need to bring more balance, bring some of these practices in, some of these foods. And another great thing that Ayurveda suggests, but also this time of year, I tend to also make more of khichdi, which is a rice mung bean mix, and you can make it with spices, ghee. And this is great if you're looking to do some kind of cleanse or detox. Ayurveda suggests you don't go completely without food, and this gives you the way. This gives you a way to nourish along with detoxing. Is the khichdi dish, which I will share the recipe as well for that if you want to give that a try. But it cleanses and nourishes the body. It removes toxins, mung beans and rice, and it's very gentle on the digestion track. So a great way to cleanse, even if it's for like a day or an evening, or like you don't have to go on this long detoxes, cleanses. There's just these little pieces that you can bring in at different times or as needed. And yeah, so I'll share the fall. Where are we? Get the fall shopping list, but let me know if there's any questions. We're just kind of wrapping it up. If there's anything else, let's see if I can get this here. Anything that came up? That's all the information I have. Here, let me do a share screen. Oh, yes. Well, yeah. So it's called the Everyday Ayurveda. I don't know if you can see that, but the Everyday Ayurveda Cookbook by Kate O'Donnell. And this one has recipes for each season. So you can just open it up and be like, we're in fall. So we're going to give these all these different recipes. There's muffins, roasted vegetables, tahini sauce, dal, simple black bean soup, raw beet slaw. That is raw, but cooked beets, I think, would be better for most of us. But if you do have a lot of kapha in you, raw isn't as detrimental. The other book is the Practical Ayurveda. I don't know the author here, but Practical Ayurveda. I'm sure you could find that on Amazon. Oh, Sharon has a book to recommend. Yes, there's so many. I mean, I have more than this, but this is just what I've referenced today. And the two that I like, my go-tos. Yes. Ayurveda Cooking.
For Beginners by Laura Plum.
Oh, nice. Thank you, Sharon. I love that. I'll have to get that one too. Yeah, I have a few others, but those are like my two favorites, and they're just easy. The one I like about the Practical Ayurveda is it's pretty, and it's just very visual. Like it's just very colorful and easy to read. It gives all the practices and then some. It goes very deep. Oh yeah, another thing I was gonna say, there's like ailments for different whatever we've got going on in this one. Common cold, cough. I was gonna kind of go over that if we had time, but yeah. So that's good at the end of that book is those ailments recommendations. All right, I want to try to see what is the easiest way to figure out. Oh yeah, so let me share there's a free dosha quiz that I'll share the link for you, Valerie. And then this is one of my favorite websites that has tons of Ayurveda information too. So you can they have recipes and you could just, yes, I know, each season. Okay. Rochelle says, let's see if this will work. All right, this is the free dosha quiz. Oh my goodness, that's a long link. But you can go and take the quiz, pretty simple, and then it will tell you what your dominant dosha is. That's the best way to do it. And there's tons of quizzes out there. I just know that this one's free and, doesn't give you issues. I did have a little quiz to do, but we're running out of time here and we can do that another time. The next workshop. I want to see about, yes, you're welcome, about trying to share this list with you all. See if I can do it. Any other questions? It was just so nice going over this information, just be reminded of it. It's always good to have a reminder of it. Thanks, Kathleen. I have done a few Ayurveda workshops in the past, and it's just so nice to focus on the season, like going one season at a time, and focusing on what we're coming into. So we'll definitely have to do this again. I can't get this here. I'm just going to share. my screen and I'll show you the, oh, it's not there. I was going to share my screen, but I can't do it. All right, well, I'll send it to you afterwards. The fall shopping list, which is from this book. And yeah, I'll just go over it real quick. I was going to try to share it with you, but the vegetables, we've got beets, broccoli, carrots, collards, kale, pumpkin, spinach, squashes, anything in season. Fruits, apples, bananas, dates, figs. I did mention that. The grains, brown rice, red rice, wheat berries, fats, avocado, coconut milk. Regular milk is good. Raw nut butters, raw nuts. That's where you can go raw. Tahini. Yeah, I'll send this information and the kitchery recipe too. So if anybody's interested in that. All right, friends, thanks for being here. This will be recorded if you want to reference back to it. But yeah, just appreciate you all. Thanks for listening. All right, go out there and nourish yourselves. If there's any questions, feel free to reach out. And let me know if you try any of these practices and you're like, ooh, I got a self-massage in, it was great. What oils you used, let me know. All right, friends, we'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye.